5.6 is applications involving decimals. So we're going to be multiplying and dividing decimals a whole bunch. Of course, to successfully complete this section, you'll need to understand solving equations, solving applications, multiplying decimals, and dividing decimals. The solving equations part is not exactly necessary. Everything we do, we won't really need to put it in equation form. So, yeah. Carol is making holiday cookies, which she will give as gifts to her friends and coworkers. She has made 34.5 pounds of cookies, which need to be divided up into equal packages containing 0.7 pounds of cookies. How many packages can Carol make? Well, to do this, it's obviously a division problem where we're taking 34.5 pounds and dividing it into equal parts that are 3/4 of a pound, or 0.75. So we divide the total pounds of cookies by the weight of each package to find the number of packages. And we just went over a whole section of division with decimals. So we know that we need to shift the decimal twice here. And so we're going to shift the decimal twice here and then go ahead and do the division. So we get 46 packages. Maggie is paid $8.15 per hour. What is her wage for a 40-hour week? All we need to do for this is multiplication. We multiply her price per hour times the number of hours worked to find the total wage. We could set it up as an equation where our unknown is n, and we have $8.15 times 40, or 8.15 times 40, and then we solve for n by doing our multiplication. But at this point, that's actually an extra step. If we just do the multiplication, we get $326 for a 40-hour week. A circle is a round geometric figure with a center point. The center point is the same distance from every point on the circle. This common distance from the center to every point on the circle is called the radius, and it is represented in formulas by the letter r. So r represents radius in formulas. Here is a diagram. You see that if you start at the center and go to the outer edge, if you go straight to the outer edge, no matter which direction you go, it's always going to be the same distance. And that distance is the radius, and if you were to include that distance in a formula, you would use the lowercase letter r. The perimeter of a circle is called the circumference. So the perimeter of a rectangle, the perimeter of a triangle, we just say it's the perimeter of those different shapes. But the circle has a special name. It's called the circumference. It measures the distance around the circle. And the formula for the circumference is C is equal to 2 pi r. Now, pi is the Greek letter pi. If you wanted to spell it out, it's just pi. And it is a non-terminating decimal, but typically we use an abbreviated form or a rounded off form of 3.14. So after we have plugged in for what your radius is and what pi is, or the approximation of pi, we can find out the circumference of any circle. So if we have a circular rug that has a radius of 2.5 feet, what is the circumference of the rug? Well, If the radius is 2.5, then we simply need to plug it into our formula, where we have the circumference is 2 pi r. So our we have 2, and then pi, we said we're going to use the estimate of 3.14 times r. We can go ahead and multiply this 2 times pi if we want, or we can do it all at one time. We can set up an equation, and the equation would be, you can leave in the c or change it to something else. I would just leave in the c and write it. C is equal to 6.28 times r. R, again, is the radius, which is 2.5 feet. So we plug that in, and we get that the circumference is 15.7. Now we're not done, because this answer has units. The units are feet, so we are not done until we say that the rug has a circumference of approximately 15.7 feet. Dave bought apples and pears at the grocery store for a fruit salad. At the checkout counter, the apples weighed 2.7 pounds and the pears weighed 1.8 pounds. If the apples cost $1.29 per pound and the pears cost $1.49 per pound, how much did Dave spend on fruit? Okay, so this is just two different multiplication problems where we need to make sure we match up the pears with the pears and the apples with the apples. And then we need to add them. So if we wanted to write a formula, it'd be our unknown is how much we spent on fruit. And if we want to break down our unknown even more, it's how much we spent on fruit or on apples and how much we spent on pears. And to figure out how much we spent on apples, we simply multiply 2.7 pounds times $1.29 per pound. So 2.7 times $1.29. When we do that multiplication, we get 3.483. Well, we're talking dollars and cents here. We're wanting a price, so we're going to round this off to $3.48. And we do the same thing with pears. And we add them and round it off. Susie went for a 3.5-hour bike ride. Her speed was 12.5 miles per hour. What is the distance she rode on her bike? Well, distance is equal to the speed times the time, and we have the time here and the distance here. So all we need to do is multiply those, and we get the distance. So we need to do the speed times time, or the rate times the time. And when we do that, 3.5 times 12.5, we know how to do that multiplication, and we get 43 3/4 miles. We need to make sure that we include the units. Here are some problems that you can work on, and after you've worked on all of them, after you have worked on all of them, you can look at my solutions.
Okay, for these next set of problems, they're all application problems, so those are word problems. Andy is paid $8.25 per hour at his job, and he works 34 hours each week. How much does Andy earn each week? That's a simple multiplication problem, but it involves decimals, so let's go ahead and do it. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 2 is 32, 33. And then we need to put in the placeholder because now we're multiplying by 30. So 3 times 5 is 15, 6, 7, and 24. Go ahead and do the addition. Okay, so we knew that he was talking about money, so we know this is going to end up looking like money. But another way to do it, or the more accurate way to do it, is to count up all of our decimals in our factors, and you need that many decimals in your product. So he earns $280.50 per week. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, the next problem is in a rectangular pool house. Rectangular pool house has an area of 128.1 square feet. If the length is 12.2 feet, what is the width? Well, the area is the length times the width. So if we know that the length is 12.2, then we know the width is going to be the area divided by the length. To do that, we simply do this division. Well, both of these have decimals in them, so we're going to move this decimal place back 1, so we move this one back 1 as well. So our decimal is going to be right here after the 1. Okay, so how many times does 122 go into 1? None. How many times 122 go into 12? None. How many times does 122 go into 128? 1 time. So it goes in 1 time, and we get a remainder of 6. Then we bring down the 1, and 122 cannot go into 61, so we need to pop in another, put a 0 here and bring it down. Now, how many times does 122 go into 610? Is it 5 times? Let's go ahead and try 5. 5 times 2 is 10, but we're going to go ahead and carry that 1. 5 times 2 is 10, 11. And I'm going to carry another 1. 5 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 6, and we get no remainders. So what were we looking for? We were looking for what the width was. So the width is equal to 10.5 feet. Okay, and the next one. Tom bought 8 cans of gourmet soup for a total of $16.40. What was the price of each can of soup? That's a division problem. The only difference is we have decimals. There's only decimals here, so we don't need to do any rearranging. So let's just go ahead and do the problem. 8 goes into 16 2 times. Remainder of 0. We need to make sure we move this decimal up. Bring down the 4. 8 does not go into 4, so we're going to put a 0 here and bring down the 0. 8 goes into 45 times without a remainder, so our problem is complete, and he spent a total of $2.05 per can. Okay, for the last problem, Ricky's new car gets 17.8 miles per gallon, and the gas tank holds 13.5 gallons. How many miles can Ricky travel? It should be Ricky's car travel on a full tank of gas. Okay, so that's just another multiplication problem. So let's go ahead and do that one real quick. We're multiplying from the tens case. We need this placeholder. Now we're multiplying from the hundreds place, so we need two placeholders. Okay, we have two decimal places here. So we're going to move the decimal place in 2 spots, and Ricky can travel 240.3 miles.